All right, today we are diving into a really fascinating medical paradox, immunosuppression. We're talking about a strategy that involves deliberately weakening the very system that's designed to protect us.
I know, it sounds totally bonkers, doesn't it? Our immune system is our own personal army, fighting off microscopic invaders 24/7. So why in the world would doctors want to tell that army to just stand down? Well, that's the big question we're unpacking today. And believe me, the answer is way more complex and life-saving than you might think.
So here's the game plan. We'll start by figuring out how our immune system can actually become the enemy. Then we'll get into the medical solution itself. Check out the different drugs doctors have in their toolkit, face the very real risks involved, and finally wrap our heads around the incredible balancing act that this is.
Okay, let's jump right in with the core problem. How on earth does our body's greatest protector end up turning into a major threat to our own well-being? Think of your immune system like a super efficient, but sometimes, let's say, overzealous security team. Most of the time, it's brilliant. It spots the bad guys, viruses, bacteria, and takes them out. But every now and then, it gets things wrong. It might see a brand new life-saving kidney from a transplant and mistake it for a dangerous invader. Or it might just get confused and start attacking the body's own perfectly healthy cells. This rogue behavior really shows up in a few key ways. The most famous one is organ transplant rejection, where the body literally tries to destroy a new organ that's there to save a life. Then you've got autoimmune diseases, where the system just turns on itself. And you also have chronic inflammatory conditions, where that immune response basically gets stuck in the on position, causing all sorts of damage. So when your own security team goes rogue, how do you get it to back off? Well, that brings us to the medical solution. And the answer is a whole class of drugs called immunosuppressants. The name says it all, right? They're designed to suppress or kind of dial down that immune response. These are the absolute game changers that make organ transplants even possible and give relief to millions of people with autoimmune diseases.
But here's the really important part. The goal isn't to just switch the immune system off. That would be a disaster, leaving a person totally defenseless. It's all about modulation. The best analogy is turning down the volume on a speaker that's blasting way too loud. You don't want to unplug it, you just want to bring it down to a manageable level.
So how exactly do doctors pull off this delicate tuning? Well, they don't just have one tool, they have a whole toolkit of different drugs, and each one works in a slightly different way.
And the first thing you have to know is that this is absolutely not a one-size-fits-all situation. No way. The mix of drugs for a kidney transplant patient a week after their surgery is going to be totally different from what someone with a long-term autoimmune condition needs. It's all about personalizing the combo for that specific person, their specific organ, and the specific timing.
These tools fall into a few major groups. You've got drugs called anti-proliferatives, which basically tell the immune cells to just slow down and stop multiplying so fast. Then there are the really potent ones, like calcineurin inhibitors, which mess with the signals that launch an immune attack. And of course, there are corticosteroids, you've probably heard of them, which are just powerful all-around anti-inflammatories. Each one tackles the problem from a different angle.
And to give you a real-world feel for this, think about this choice. Azathioprine is an older, trusted, foundational drug. But then there's a newer drug, mycophenolate mofetil, that might actually be better at stopping that immediate rejection of an organ. The catch? That extra benefit might come with a higher risk of certain infections. It is always, always a trade-off.
And that brings us right to the flip side of this whole thing. If you're going to intentionally weaken the body's defenses, you're pretty much guaranteed to create a whole new set of dangers. And here is a really critical danger. When the immune system is turned down, it doesn't just have a hard time fighting infections. It can't even send up the usual warning signs. You know, a fever, that's actually a good sign that your body is fighting back. But if these drugs mask that fever, a really serious infection like tuberculosis could be growing silently, reaching an advanced stage before anyone even knows it's there.
So the risks here are absolutely real. An infection that would be a minor inconvenience for you or me could become life-threatening. Common viruses like chickenpox suddenly become a huge deal. And doctors have to be incredibly careful about vaccines, especially any that use live viruses. It's a state of constant heightened awareness.
So when you put all of this together, you can see what this is really all about. It is a continuous, high-stakes balancing act. It really is like a constant tightrope walk. If the dose of these drugs is too low, you risk the body rejecting an organ or an autoimmune disease flaring up. But if the dose is too high, you throw the doors wide open to all sorts of dangerous, even deadly infections. That safe zone right in the middle, it is incredibly narrow.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Immunosuppressive therapy is not a set it and forget it kind of deal. It is a dynamic, ongoing process of tweaking and adjusting, all managed by specialist teams who are constantly navigating that razor's edge between rejection and infection to keep their patients safe. The progress in this field has been nothing short of a miracle, honestly. It's turned conditions that were once a death sentence into something people can live with. But it leaves us with this incredible question for the future. Can we get beyond just suppressing the system? Can we actually teach our immune systems to tolerate the things they need to accept, to turn that overzealous guard into a wise protector? The search for that answer, well, that's the next amazing chapter in this story.